Veiled by nomadic fogs and uncertain mists, some of the planet's most concealed corners throb with life. Clouds may appear to be merely beautiful, ever-changing phenomena of the weather, but they are much more than that. They are, in fact, the difference between life and death. Between the most sterile, solitary desert and the lushest forest bustling with life. Here in the middle of the great terrestrial ocean, clouds act as curtains that, when drawn back, reveal an ancient, vibrant, and unique forest. Every corner of this fire-loving forest buzzes with flora and fauna especially adapted to the extreme environments created on the various islands of the archipelago. Flowers, insects, lizards and birds all share the singular landscapes shaped by the Canary pines. The Canarian pine forests grow only in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. This pine, endemic to the Canary Islands, is found on the more rugged islands of Gran Canaria, Tenerife, La Gomera, La Palma, and El Hierro. The Canary Island pine originated on the ancient shores of the Tethys Ocean 135 million years ago. It's a living fossil that has survived the years clinging to the rocky escarpments of the Canary Islands. This pine is found in many places, having conquered a wide range of territories. The Canary pine can withstand the extremes of heights of over 2,300 meters and landscapes that dissolve into the ocean. Its hardy, pioneering character allows it to withstand brutally cold ocean clouds and cruelly arid lava fields alike. But it's not the only living thing to flourish in such varied and inhospitable places. The Canary pine forest creates around it a complex environment full of the most daring wildlife. However, the pines carefully control what is around them, preventing other plants capable of tolerating such harsh conditions competing for the same resources. This volcanic territory is only suitable for the bravest and best suited. Pine needles are almost indestructible and accumulate in a dense, acidic carpet, which stops most other vegetation from growing. Yet in spite of everything, some species manage to flower between the pines or in clearings. Their roots penetrate the volcanic soil in search of the nutrients and water that the ancient rainforest causes to be stored there. Strange plants, unique to the Canaries, thrive among the volcanic rock, ash and pines. Euphorbia, Matiola, Aeonium, figworts, and Lotus pyranthus. This vegetation is the first link of an intricate and complex ecological network that a multitude of insects make the most of. Ants are everywhere in this singular and exclusive botanical garden and visit the flowers rich in alimentary possibilities. The pine forests also share their territory with red, white and blue buglossies. The inflorescences, or flowering parts of buglossies, are usually extravagant, cylindrical or conical, reaching up to 3 meters in height. This peculiar and striking group of plants, unique to the Canary Islands, is a vital part of the ecosystem. With their attractive aromas and exquisite nectars, they attract myriad insects and birds. The number and variety of small creatures that visit the flora of the pine forest attracts the camouflaged mantis, which feed on those who lose their way. This unique pine kingdom, a perfect ecosystem, is home to many other endemic animals, such as the familiar canary and the much rarer blue chaffinch. This latter name applies to two very similar species that inhabit the mountain-hugging forests of two islands, Tenerife and Gran Canaria. Their lives are intimately linked to these conifers. Adults feed almost exclusively on pine seeds and build their nests in the branches. Their chicks, in contrast, are fed exclusively on insects. The female, more grey than blue, is the harder working parent, being largely responsible for feeding the couple's young. Not all Canary pine landscapes have the same inhabitants. Various species of lizards make their home in the rockiest, warmest pine forests, such as these western canaries or gallert lizards. These small lizards are extraordinarily well adapted to their arid home. Their scaly skin is waterproof and prevents water being lost through evaporation. A further and less common adaptation is their diet, which allows them to ingest water in a way that is unusual among lizards. They feed on mature figs, juicy shoots, and the fruits of all kinds of plants. Thus they both eat and hydrate at the same time. Western Canary's lizards inhabit the pine groves of Tenerife and La Palma. Sporting striking blue scales, males are always larger and may measure more than 30 centimeters in length. Although they are good insect hunters, they seek out any fruit that is in season, expanding their diet, which may be almost exclusively vegetarian. Clouds come and go on the higher territories, conditioning life for these large lizards, which need the heat of the sun for them to be warm enough to be active. And to promote digestion. Other reptiles, such as the skink, are also endemic and will barely move a muscle until their bodies reach the required temperature. Everything here depends on the clouds, whose presence and intensity varies according to the season of the year. It is the highest terrain of the Canary Islands that the pines cover most of. Pine forests constitute 60% of woodland in the Canaries archipelago. And healthy populations of Canary Islands woodpeckers are vital to these forests. Now, in spring, the forest rings out with their mating calls. The nests they abandon each year are occupied by other species of birds, such as blue tits. These forest birds raise their chicks on a varied, tasty protein diet in the form of insects. Despite occupying the apparently unassailable trunk, blue tits are rightly wary of ravens, knowing that they feed on all types of food, including the chicks and eggs of other birds. It's best to head away from the nest until a carnivorous raven also decides to leave. Ravens are common pine forest neighbors. They find this a comfortable and varied ecosystem in which they can feed with relative ease. On higher land, the pines acquire an even more important ecological role. Clouds penetrate the mountain forests, where the long frond-like needles of the Canary Island pine trap water molecule by molecule. This then forms in small droplets that drip down onto the volcanic ground. This is the starting point of the fundamental water cycle that irrigates some of the most interesting parts of these islands. Where many species of birds take refuge in search of a drink and a bath. Indeed, it is thought that it was birds that brought the first pine tree seeds from the Mediterranean when these islands were no more than distant, blazing volcanoes. The Canary Island pine was one of the first species to conquer the Canary Islands 15 million years ago. Their continental ancestors were driven to extinction by dramatic climate changes caused by glaciations. Today, the species' closest relative is more than 6,000 kilometers away, the Himalayan pine. Here in the Canaries, a very small area of pine forest is enough to provide a home to a wide range of animals. On the island of Gran Canaria, the giant lizard is the largest of the archipelago's reptiles, at 80 centimeters in length. Flies are comfortable flitting around the lizard's large jaws. In such a dry environment, you find a drink wherever you can, even in the eyes and mouths of others. This large-headed lizard lives in open clearings in the pine groves, where it feeds mostly, and despite its terrifying appearance, surprisingly, on plants. In fact, the older these lizards get, the more vegetarian their diet becomes. Like the lizards of varying sizes, the Canary pines thrive in rocky, steeply sloping, almost vertical areas. Here they will grow up to 50 meters tall. In their lush canopy, Barbary falcons that live among the volcanic rocks where the pines grow will occasionally perch. This is a rare endemic hawk, a close relation of the peregrine falcon, which hunts other birds for its survival. It will, now and then, take refuge among the long, flexible needles. These narrow leaves trap water, but in another part of the pine tree, the bark, other secrets hide. The bark of the Canary Island pine allows the tree to survive the devastating fires caused by volcanic eruptions and lightning. The Canary pine is an exception among conifers. After a fire, it will be reborn from the ashes. Its secret is the more than 8 centimeter thick layer of bark which protects the cells inside the tree, allowing them to sprout again after a fire. This environmental adaptation to fire eliminates diseased trees and promotes the germination of new pine trees. But the thick, cracked bark also turns out to be the home of a myriad of curious creatures. What fire cannot penetrate, some insects can. Although this grasshopper feeds on euphorbia, it will use the bark of pines in order to carry out, discreetly, its reproductive obligations. And so, in turn, the bark attracts the East Canary gecko, a keen hunter of all types of invertebrates. Luckily for this ant, the gecko has not yet warmed up enough to be able to hunt. Canary great-spotted woodpeckers know that insects abound here, and they patrol the pines frequently, looking for food, or simply to use the branches as an anvil to help in cracking open the toughest seeds, such as almonds. The Canary Island pine clearly has many uses. Every part of the tree holds something for the community of animals that live in the pine forest. When they fall to the ground, enormous pine cones attract ravens. They're full of treasures, such as small invertebrates and their eggs. Even while they are green and still on the branches, woodpeckers will attack them in search of their delicious and nutritious seeds. Around the large pine forest, away from the moisture and the best terrain, canary pines will also grow. In these harsher territories, the ground has very little organic matter. But even there, in the middle of the wastes of ash and volcanic rubble, small pine trees capable of colonizing the most desolate territories will sprout. And with them, the ever-present ravens. These intelligent and adaptable birds somehow find ways to survive in very inhospitable places. Digging and sifting the volcanic ash where little vegetation can grow, they find enough to survive. Pine trees and ravens, two extraordinarily resilient species, hardy and versatile, able to make the most of the slightest opportunity. This is the reason for their success in these islands of extremes, where opposing worlds live side by side. One baked dry by the beating sun. Another bathed by gentle, water-bearing clouds born in the ocean. And in both of these worlds, one of the toughest and most exclusive trees on the planet grows, the Canary Island pine, whose long journey began 135 million years ago, besieged by fire and caressed by clouds.